Books aren't just stories. They're weapons. Here's why. What if your favorite book wasn't just a story, but a weapon, designed to shape how you think, who you obey, and what you believe? What if I told you that your favorite novel, that literary classic from school, that centuries-old play you barely understood, was never just about art? It was a weapon, a battleground, a carefully disguised argument about who gets to rule and who must obey. Books aren't just stories. They're tools of power, and sometimes tools of rebellion. Today, we uncover the theory that dares to read literature not for what it says, but for what it hides. This is cultural materialism. And after this video, you'll never read the same way again. What is cultural materialism? Cultural materialism sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. It starts with this. Culture is never neutral. Every book, every play, every film, it's created in a specific time, place, and political climate. Now imagine reading literature, not just for the plot or characters, but as a window into power struggles, class conflict, and ideology. That's what cultural materialism does. Rooted in Marxist theory, it was popularized by scholars like Raymond and Jonathan Dollimore in the 1980s. They asked, who benefits from this story? What values is it promoting or suppressing? And how does the past connect to the present? Their focus wasn't just history, it was the power structures behind the history. Literature as ideology. Think about it. For most of history, who could read and write? The elite, the educated, the powerful. So naturally, much of what we call classic literature was written by and for the ruling class. That doesn't make it worthless, but it does mean every story carries ideology, whether it means to or not. That romantic tragedy, it might reinforce gender roles. That Great War novel, it could glorify nationalism or empire. Even silence. What a story doesn't say can be political. Cultural materialism pulls back the curtain. It shows us how literature reflects, or resists, the dominant ideologies of its time. Shakespeare as a weapon. Let's take Shakespeare. For centuries, he was seen as timeless, universal, apolitical. But cultural materialists ask, what if Shakespeare wasn't above politics, but deeply entangled in it? Take King Lear, a play about a ruler losing power and the chaos that follows. To a modern audience, it's tragic. But to 16th century England, it was terrifyingly relevant. At the time, Queen Elizabeth had no heir. Succession was uncertain. Rebellion was feared. So what did Shakespeare do? He gave the people a warning. Chaos follows disobedience. Order must be preserved. Obey the crown. But here's the twist. In different eras, the same play has been used to challenge power, too. The same text, a tool of control and of resistance. That's the power of literature as a weapon. Who gets erased? But there's another side to this theory. It doesn't just ask what's in the canon. It asks what's missing, whose voices are erased, whose stories never made it to the syllabus. For centuries, literature by women, by colonized peoples, by the working class, was ignored, suppressed, or lost entirely. Cultural materialism asks, why? What power structure benefits from that silence? Suddenly, analyzing a text isn't just academic, it becomes a political act. When you choose what books to study, what stories to value, you're choosing what version of the world gets remembered. Literature, then versus now. Here's where things get interesting. Cultural materialism isn't stuck in the past. It asks us to apply this thinking right now. Think of the books topping bestseller lists today. Stories about race, gender, dystopias, revolutions. They're not just entertainment. They're cultural battlegrounds. How are they being received, celebrated, banned? What does that say about the power structures of today? And when we teach those books, are we encouraging critical thinking or quietly reinforcing old values? Why it matters. Books are never just books. They're stories, yes, but they're also tools of influence, of memory, of control, and sometimes of resistance. Cultural materialism gives us X-ray vision. It helps us see the invisible forces shaping what we read and how we interpret it. In a world where stories shape minds and minds shape politics, reading critically isn't optional. It's essential, because once you understand that books are weapons, you stop reading passively and start reading powerfully. Enjoyed this perspective? Hit like, share it with a fellow reader, and drop a comment. What book changed how you see power? Subscribe for more storytelling that reveals what's hidden between the lines.